Ottawa, 7 First Nations outside Toronto have voted to accept a $1.1 billion settlement deal with the federal and provincial governments to resolve a long-standing treaty dispute. The proposed settlement was approved by nation members in votes held last Saturday, Scugog Island First Nation Chief Kelly LaRocca confirmed in an email. The first page of the Williams Treaty with the Mississauga First Nations of Rice, Mud and Scugog Lakes and Alderville, Library and Archives Canada, LaRocca said the approval is an important milestone toward a final settlement that would end decades of court litigation and negotiation over the controversial Williams Treaties of 1923. The 7 First Nations have long argued the government unjustly crafted and implemented the treaties, that they were unfairly compensated for their land, and that they never surrendered hunting and fishing rights in the 20th century treaties. Canada and Ontario still need to complete their own internal approval processes before it can be ratified by all parties, she said, which includes the Alderville, Beausoleil, Chippewas of Georgina Island, Chippewas of Rama, Curve Lake, Hiawatha and Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nations that are spread out from Georgian Bay to Lake Scugog north of Oshawa. We are pleased to report that voters from the 7 Williams Treaties communities have approved the proposed settlement agreement, LaRocca said. Article continued below. Negotiated settlements advance reconciliation with First Nations and resolve outstanding issues in a way that respects the rights and interests of First Nations and all Canadians. Top stories in your inbox. For the day's top news from the Stars award-winning journalists, sign up for our daily headlines newsletter. Documents obtained last week by the Star, including a memo to Curve Lake members from the nation's chief, laid out details of the proposed settlement. Ontario and Canada would provide $1.1 billion to the 7 nations, recognize fishing and hunting rights that have been denied by the courts, and grant 312 square kilometers of new land to the communities, the document said. The Williams Treaties are different than others in Ontario because they were signed in the 20th century and pertain to land that Chippewas and Mississaugas had never agreed to relinquish, but was already occupied by settler homes, mines and lumber mills. Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennott's office has not responded to multiple requests for comment on the proposed settlement in recent days. Ontario's Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation also did not respond to requests for comment.